Developing right now on Morning News Now, escalation and uncertainty in the Middle East. The U.S. and Iran exchanging attacks near the Strait of Hormuz. It's raising questions about the ceasefire as Iran reviews a U.S. proposal to end the war.
Could happen any day. Could, and it might not happen, but it could happen any day. I believe they want the deal more than I do.
Well, at the Vatican, Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with Pope Leo after the Pope criticized the conflict. We'll take you overseas. Also this morning, contact concerns, an international effort now underway to track down the passengers of a cruise ship hit by the Hantavirus. What we know about who was on board and what health officials are saying about the risk to the public. Plus, a path of destruction in the south after days of severe storms. We're going to take you to the areas hardest hit, and we're tracking a springtime chill with millions of people waking up to frost and freeze alerts. Our friend Bill Cairns has your weekend forecast. And bigger than baseball, when a Chicago woman, a die-hard Cubs fan, was in need of a kidney transplant and took her plea to Wrigley Field, she probably could have never guessed who would step up to the plate, how a crosstown rival became a life-saving connection. Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Friday. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is on assignment. We begin this hour with yet another shift in the standoff with Iran. A new round of attacks is creating fresh doubt over that elusive peace deal. Optimism was high about 24 hours ago after Iran said it was reviewing America's latest proposal. But later that day, both sides exchanged fire again near the critical Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Central Command says American forces intercepted Iranian missiles, drones, and small boats that were targeting 3 Navy-guided missile destroyers that were transiting the waterway. Officials say no U.S. assets were hit during that encounter. In response, CENTCOM says U.S. forces launched strikes on Iranian military facilities. Now, Iran's military accuses the U.S. of violating the ceasefire, saying it targeted an Iranian oil tanker and carried out air attacks on civilian areas in several coastal places. Despite these attacks, President Trump claims the ceasefire is still holding and that talks are progressing. From enemies to allies, the president now threatening the European Union with more import taxes if they don't agree to a trade deal. That's despite a federal court dealing the administration yet another setback on its ability to impose tariffs. NBC News correspondent Chris Pallone has the latest.
Overnight, the U.S. and Iran exchanging fire near the Strait of Hormuz, throwing into question the status of the fragile ceasefire between the two nations.
They were firing at us, and we were firing back at them, and our firepower was a hell of a lot stronger than theirs.
President Trump taking reporters on a surprise tour of a federal construction project at the Lincoln Memorial Thursday night. Still optimistic a deal between the two countries to end the war is close.
Could happen any day. Could, and it might not happen, but it could happen any day.
The U.S. waiting for a response from the Iranians on its latest peace proposal, which the president says would require Iran to abandon attempts to obtain a nuclear weapon and turn over nuclear material. At the UN, the U.S. and several Middle East countries backing a resolution condemning Iran for its takeover of the Strait of Hormuz, which saw no ship traffic pass through for a second straight day as a U.S. naval blockade continues.
Iran's indiscriminate mining and tolling efforts in the Strait of Hormuz are textbook violations of international law.
The only viable solution in the Strait of Hormuz is a permanent end to the war, the lifting of maritime blockade, and the restoration of normal passage.
Meanwhile, President Trump is threatening to impose new tariffs on European goods imported to the U.S. if the European Union doesn't agree to a trade deal by the 4th of July. While at the same time, a special federal trade court was ruling against the president's ability to impose certain tariffs.
Nothing surprises me. So we always do it a different way.
The president insisting the ruling won't deter his efforts to impose new tariffs. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Let's get more on the situation in the Middle East with NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren. Colonel, good to have you with us. Let's start with this latest flare-up between the U.S. and Iran, both sides saying they retaliated in self-defense. What's your read on this latest round of attacks?
Good morning, Joe. I think there's two things happening here with this latest round of attacks. The first thing is, this ceasefire it's still a little, or it's never been really solid, right? There's no piece of paper that's been written down that says exactly what is and what isn't a violation of the ceasefire. And so, the Americans want to use the Strait of Hormuz as an international waterway. And they think that that's something that they should be able to do. And the Iranians feel that the Strait of Hormuz is a violation of the ceasefire if the Americans go through it. So both sides there are just kind of not clear on what's going on and what the rules are. Luckily, they've managed to keep it to individual events. The second thing that's happening with this, Joe, is both sides have said, yep, we are negotiating, and I think this is the Iranians wanting to make sure that as these negotiations go on, they want to project a little bit of strength because they understand that they're sort of in a weaker position.
I mean, just this week alone, we've seen the pendulum swing back and forth several times from optimism over a ceasefire to renewed attacks. Could these repeated flare-ups escalate into something bigger if they continue to happen? I mean, how concerned is the U.S. military about just being dragged back into a much larger war?
Sure. I think, you always have to be careful, right? Because as these violations happen more and more frequently, you create space for miscalculation. You create space for, red lines to be crossed, and you ultimately create space for a larger escalation. I think the U.S. military remains ready. They're always ready. Nobody, and this is a very old saying, nobody wants peace more than a soldier. But in this case, the U.S. Navy, the U.S. military, they're always ready for the most violent war to break out at any moment. And so they're ready. They're concerned. But they're hoping, of course, that peace will prevail.
Colonel, yesterday, NBC News learned why the president abruptly halted that brief operation to escort the stranded tankers there in the Strait of Hormuz. Two U.S. officials told us it was Saudi Arabia that suspended America's ability to use its bases and airspace for the operation. What do you make of that move, and just what might it tell us about the broader support for the U.S. strategy in the Gulf right now?
Yeah, so and we're receiving reports now that the Saudis have since allowed the U.S. forces to use those bases for that purpose. Unconfirmed reports, but that's some of the reports that we're beginning to see now. What I make of that is this, Joe. I feel like in this case it was a failure to properly coordinate. I don't think that the Saudis were angered or put off by it. I just feel like the Saudis said, hey, we're not ready yet, so stop and let us finish getting ready. Let's finish these coordinations. It felt to me like the military was still doing some of the work that needed to be done to set all of this up, while the political side of the House, the White House and the Pentagon, they went ahead and said, okay, this has started now. So it felt to me like it was just sort of a desynchronization between the military, the Saudis, and the White House.
All right. Colonel Warren, it's always good to have you with us. Thank you so much. In the wake of the war, a series of suspicious oil market trades is under federal investigation. The transactions happened in March and April, right before President Trump and Iranian officials made major policy announcements about the war. A source familiar with the probe tells NBC News the Justice Department and the nation's top commodity regulator are looking into at least 4 trades. We're told the traders would predict that oil prices would sink right before they did, and those bets earned the traders more than $2.5 billion. NBC News senior national politics reporter John Allen joins us now with more on this. John, good morning. I understand it's not just the oil futures markets that are under investigation. They're also looking into some prediction market activity, something we're hearing more and more about when it comes to concerns over insider trading and just a lack of regulation. What types of events were these people allegedly betting on that raised these red flags?
Right. In terms of the prediction markets, Joe, there are a variety of things that can be bet on with regard to the Iran war, including whether President of the United States Donald Trump will set foot in Iran anytime soon. Seems like a long shot to me. But they are looking at the prediction in particular of oil markets. So on the one side, you've got the commodities traders who are we say betting, but buying contracts on oil futures and selling contracts on oil futures is an actual commodity. On the other side, you've got the prediction markets, Poly Market, Kalshi, and the others. where you are essentially predicting where that price is going to go against other people. It's a little bit different, but the federal authorities are looking into basically both sides of that.
John, I want to ask you about something I mentioned a few minutes ago. It's another legal setback for President Trump when it comes to his tariffs. This is a ruling that comes from a panel of federal judges who are on the U.S. Court of International Trade. We know President Trump is set to travel to China next week, some high-stakes trade talks there. So what could all this mean for that trip?
The president would certainly prefer to be walking in there with the courts here having bolstered his major program of tariffs, which has been sort of ripped asunder by various courts over time. So he's going in a weaker position to China. Again, the 10% global tariffs, obviously something he cares deeply about. He believes that it will help the U.S. economy, despite many economists saying the opposite. But he walks into China. The Chinese leaders get to make decisions. There's basically dictatorship and straight down the line policy that they want. The United States president is at the disadvantage of democracy. We have many great advantages in democracy, but one of the disadvantages is that the president doesn't always have the entire country, the Congress, the courts, the public behind him in the same way. So, again, I think he's in a slightly weaker position. I don't think it is a sort of big problem for the president headed into those talks, though.
John, before we let you go, I know you have some exclusive reporting on former Vice President Kamala Harris. She's calling on the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, to release a report that look at what went wrong for the party back in 2024. What more can you tell us? And is it looking more likely that Harris is going to run again?
Yeah, the DNC performed an autopsy on her campaign to look at what went wrong, not only with her campaign, but with outside groups, with the DNC, with state parties, et cetera. And they have not released it. It's been buried since December. And Kamala Harris has told donors that she believes it should be released, has not made that sort of full public call for it, but has told donors that that's what she thinks should happen. And of course, to the other question, they're all running, Joe, until they're not. And I think former Vice President Harris is certainly making the moves of somebody who would be running for president in 2028.
I think one prediction we can safely make is it will be a crowded field on the Democratic side over the next couple of years. Bet on it. John Allen, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Overseas, Secretary of State Marco Rubio spent another day trying to mend some rocky relationships in Europe. Yesterday, Rubio had a closed-door meeting at the Vatican with Pope Leo. That came after President Trump repeatedly attacked the pontiff. And this morning, the Secretary of State met with Italy's foreign minister as well as Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. She's a one-time Trump ally who has become more critical of the American president in recent weeks. For more, let's bring in NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavaga. Claudio, good morning. Let's start with this meeting at the Vatican. I understand some gifts were exchanged. The two spoke for just under an hour. Do we know, did Rubio manage to smooth things over with the Pope?
Hey, Joe. Well, both the Vatican and the State Department issued statements after that meeting, which were carefully crafted, full of niceties and diplomatic language. And when it comes to the Vatican, these kind of meetings, you really need to read between the lines. And even more, you need to look at the symbolism when it comes to the gifts. Now, what were they? Rubio gave the Pope a crystal football, while the Pope gave Rubio a pen made out of wood from an olive tree. Now, the symbolism and the meaning of the Pope's gift is quite clear. It was a sign of peace. It was like extending an olive branch in the shape of a pen. Well, when it comes to the Rubio's gifts, in a way, maybe he was suggesting that the only way for the Pope to predict the future is by reading a crystal ball, because especially how unpredictable the Trump messages on Truth Social are when it comes to the pontiff. So we'll see if that works.
Olive pen in place of an olive branch. I like that. That's a good idea there. All right, so now we have today's meeting with Italian leaders also coming amid tensions over some of the comments President Trump made last week. He essentially said the U.S. was open to the idea of withdrawing U.S. troops from Italy. So can this relationship be saved? Where do things stand?
Well, that's right, Joe. I mean, this was presented as a courtesy visit by the Secretary of State to the government, but it is an opportunity to smooth things over, especially after the relationship between the U.S. and Italy really has gone down in the last few weeks. Just a few weeks ago, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Italy were seen as one of the, if not the biggest allies of President Trump here in Europe. Well, that all changed, especially after Trump's comments against or criticism on the Pope. Well, Giorgia Meloni said that was unacceptable. Then also Giorgia Meloni was against the war with Iran. She called it illegal. Italy refused the use of U.S. air bases here in Italy for bombers, U.S. bombers that were involved in the war with Iran. So all of that contributed to a broken down relationship between the U.S. and Italy. Trump said he was very disappointed. He didn't recognize the prime minister anymore and so forth. So this meeting with the foreign minister and the prime minister is a way to mend relations. Right after that meeting with the foreign minister said that he has a positive outlook for the future of relations between the U.S. and Italy, because he says that yes, it's true, the United States needs Europe, but Europe needs the United States, but also the United States needs Europe and Italy. Also, before that meeting with the foreign minister, the ice was broken by the foreign minister, who provided Rubio with a family tree that is supposed to prove that he has ancestors here in the north of Italy. Rubio loved that. He seemed very relaxed, and he said it's an honor, and that is one more reason to come back here to Italy. So definitely a lot more, a more relaxed meeting, let's put it that way, than the one he had with the Pope yesterday, Joe.
Trees and branches. I see a theme here. All right, Claudio, a reminder that time flies. Today's the one-year anniversary of Pope Leo's historic election to lead the Catholic Church, becoming the first American pontiff in the Church's 2,000-year history. So how's the Vatican marking this occasion?
Well, the Pope this morning traveled to Pompeii, and soon is going to also visit Naples, which is nearby. The reason is the Our Lady of the Rosary, which is venerated at the Basilica right next to the archaeological site. This morning, he delivered a homily in which he spoke about peace once again. Let me just give you two quotes. He said that peace is put at risk by international tensions and by an economy that favors the trade in weapons over respect for human life. He also said, we cannot resign ourselves to the images of death that the news presents to us every day. Well, we also hope that, we wish that we wouldn't have to present the images of death every day, but unfortunately that is the reality. Joe?
All right, Claudio Lavanga. Claudio, thank you so much. Now for the latest on that deadly outbreak of Hantavirus aboard a cruise ship. So far, 3 people have died. At least 5 more are infected with the rare but dangerous disease. This morning, the ship is off the coast of Western Africa and moving north toward the Canary Islands. That's where it will dock so the remaining passengers can be evacuated. And that is where we find NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamjian. Danielle, good morning. So what do we know? What are conditions like on the ship right now? And just what are the steps that they are taking to make sure the virus doesn't spread anymore?
Yeah, good morning, Joe, from a very windy Tenerife here. Things appear to be going relatively well on board that ship in terms of measures being taken. There is social distancing, sanitation measures are taken into consideration. And I think, it's safe to say that after going through the COVID pandemic, many of them will have been prepared for this, so maybe not coming as a shock. We did speak, our colleagues at KTVZ in Oregon did speak to one of the passengers on board who is one of 17 Americans, a doctor who said that he had to step in to help when the virus broke out. But he also tells us that there are 2 experts from the World Health Organization on board, as well as 2 Dutch infectious disease experts. So they do feel like they are being taken care of. But as we speak, and as far as we know, there are no passengers on board who are showing any symptoms. No doubt that is a relief to everybody on board, passenger and crew, to various governments around the world, and to the World Health Organization, of course. Jim.
Yeah, no doubt that is some good news there. So do we know, when we look ahead to Sunday here, when they disembark, what is the plan for that?
Yeah, so if everything goes well, they will arrive here at noon on Sunday. And as we know, there have been protests across the Canary Islands. There's been opposition by local politicians. But at the end of the day, this was a decision for the Spanish government. It's their jurisdiction. And so, but because there were concerns, the ship is not going to dock here. It's going to anchor nearby. And boats will carry 5 passengers at a time. They'll be brought here to the port to a cordoned off area, and they'll be boarding vehicles that'll be under guard straight to the airport, which is about a 10-15 minute drive from here. They'll be taken to another cordoned off area, and then they'll be boarding repatriation flights to the various countries where they come from. The big question, I think, is, what is the quarantine process going to be like? Because the British advisory came out this morning saying that any British passenger or crew on board that ship will have to quarantine for 45 days when they land in the UK. Here, the Spanish nationals will have to quarantine in a military hospital in Madrid. So it'll have to be a case-by-case basis, but hopefully something, a process that'll be uniform around the board so that we can stop this virus from spreading.
Danielle, do we know any more about that Dutch flight attendant who remains hospitalized? How's that person doing?
Yeah, some good news to deliver there. The World Health Organization coming out this morning to say her tests have come back negative. Also, 2 other passengers who were on that KLM flight on April 25th from Johannesburg to Amsterdam have also tested negative. Remember that it's believed that one of the cruise passengers who later died was initially on that plane, but she was removed because of her medical condition. Crew said it wasn't going to, the crew there thought it was not a good idea for her to stay on board. She was removed and unfortunately died the next day. KLM has said that they have been in touch with every single passenger on board that plane, confirming this morning that 2 other passengers have tested negative for the virus, Joe.
All right, Danielle, braving the windy conditions there in Spain. Thank you so much. Now, as we reported, a number of passengers, including 7 from the United States, left the ship before the virus was even discovered. NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal shows us how medical officials here are monitoring the situation.
Confirmation from 5 states that passengers who were aboard the cruise ship with the deadly Hantavirus outbreak are back in the U.S. 1 person in Virginia, 2 in Georgia, 2 in Texas, another in Arizona, and an undisclosed number of people in California. Health departments in all of these states telling NBC News that the former passengers whose identities are being withheld are not showing any symptoms. Texas explaining that the passengers have agreed to monitor themselves for symptoms with daily temperature checks. The other states declining to share how the passengers are being monitored. We asked each state if those passengers are quarantining. 4 would not answer that question. Arizona saying the person there is not isolating.
Should the passengers back in the U.S. be quarantining?
Yes, at least for the duration of the 6 weeks since a known exposure.
Johns Hopkins microbiologist Sabra Klein says that's how long it could take for symptoms to show up if a passenger was exposed and contracted hantavirus. The confirmed Andes strain of the virus is usually transmitted through rodents, but in the rare cases of human-to-human transmission, Klein says there must be a high level of virus and very close contact.
In order for human-to-human transmission to occur, this requires intimate contact, like sharing a bed, like sharing utensils.
Unlike COVID, she says, hantavirus is not readily transmissible.
People in the United States do not need to be worried. This is not another pandemic. This will never have pandemic potential.
Our thanks to Camila Bernal for that report. For its part, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention here in the U.S. says it is monitoring the situation and is in contact with the passengers and other health organizations. It also says the overall risk to the American public remains extremely low. A major recovery effort is underway in Mississippi following a string of devastating tornadoes. Emergency officials say more than a dozen tornadoes hit communities across the state this week. Hundreds of homes were destroyed. Thousands of customers left without power. NBC News national correspondent Aaron Gilchrist reports from the storm zone, speaking with survivors about the terrifying moments they had to take cover.
In Mississippi, neighborhoods left unrecognizable, around 400 homes damaged. Multiple tornadoes reported ripping through the state, leaving miles of destruction. Car windows blown out, trees blocking roads, homes moved off their foundation. Sirens blaring as residents took shelter.
Oh, shoot!
Lightning apparently striking this house, sending it up in flames. Some residents trapped during the storm, with more than 15,000 without power across 5 counties. Authorities say there were at least 17 injuries, but no deaths. Parts of Bukachita demolished. Judy Pyatt says she and her husband hid inside their shower, the only part of their house to survive the storm.
And all of a sudden, the house was rumbling and shaking.
In Purvis, just before service was about to start, the dangerous weather tearing apart this church, the congregation huddling in the hallway.
We just started praying and people started singing, and I was over here by the wall, and this wall was just moving back and forth.
It all comes after ferocious wind and heavy rain slammed Florida and Alabama, completely flooding roads.
My car's flowing right now.
Communities now coming together and beginning to clean up.
All I can feel right now is just honestly thankful, just thankful for life.
Aaron Gilchrist, NBC News.
Now we've got more on the risk for severe storms as we head into the weekend. Time for your morning News Now weather, and Bill Cairns joins us now. Hey, Bill, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe. And looking at those pictures, it's just incredible we didn't have fatalities. I mean, you just see so many homes just destroyed. And we did learn from the National Weather Service that those were 2 tornadoes. We call them long track violent tornadoes. At one point, the tornado was a mile wide, with winds of 130 miles per hour. I mean, it's so fortunate it didn't go through any towns, or just, this would have been so much worse. Bad enough, as you just saw. So today, we're not going to have anything like that. Yesterday, we didn't have a ton of severe weather. We are waking up to areas with some heavy rain and some thunderstorms in Texas. Just north of Dallas, we've had some thunderstorms heading up towards the Oklahoma border. And it's kind of a gloomy, cool day from San Antonio to Houston. You can already see these new thunderstorms popping up here, too. These aren't going to be like the severe type. Later this afternoon to this evening, that's when we could get some thunderstorms capable of very large hail. Tornado threat's pretty low today, but we could get the kind of hail that could smash a windshield, dent your car, and that's almost all of the eastern half of Oklahoma, all the way back down towards the Red River and a little sliver here of areas of Kansas. So as far as the timing, that area of rain this morning in Houston does slide along I-10. Definitely umbrella weather the next 2 days from New Orleans to Houston over towards, Tallahassee, Panama City, Pensacola. Here's those isolated severe thunderstorms late today in Oklahoma. And then tomorrow, kind of an ugly Saturday. Now, the drought is horrific in the south. We desperately need the rain. I just don't like to ruin your weekend on you. But from New Orleans, Panama City to Jacksonville, that's kind of the area you're going to have 2 really wet days in a row. And rainfall totals could be as high as 1 to maybe even 2, 3 inches of rain. So this is the soaking you need, but I better would have gotten it during the week. So here's your weekend outlook, and kind of a bummer of a day, too, around New York City, southern New England, a rainy Saturday for you. And then for Mom on Mother's Day, a lot of great weather in the west. Not bad in the Great Lakes, a little chilly. In the Northeast, it looks like a very beautiful day. And unfortunately, some severe storms. I think Dallas into Atlanta, those are some of the areas that, do something fun indoors with Mom.
There you go. I like warm for Mom.
Warm for Mom.
That's your gift to mothers everywhere.
That's it.
All right, Bill, thank you so much. Good to see you. Welcome back. In the UK, results are coming in from hundreds of local elections this morning. As expected, it's bad news for the country's unpopular Prime Minister Keir Starmer and his ruling Labour Party. Here's some of what he had to say a few hours ago about the message from voters.
The change that we promised isn't being delivered in a way they can feel, and also, frankly, they're fed up with years of the status quo. But we were elected to deal with those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away from that and to plunge the country into chaos.
It was another strong night for the hard-right Reform Party led by Nigel Farage. That party has already picked up hundreds of seats on local councils. Let's bring in NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez, who's in London. Raf, good morning. I know we won't get all the results for some time, but it is looking bad, or how bad, I guess, is it looking for Starmer and the Labour Party? He just said he's not going to resign, but is it possible his party could push him out?
Joe, good morning. It is looking bad, and yes, it is possible that the British Prime Minister could be pushed out by his own party. You have a lot of members of the Labour Party in Parliament right now who are looking at the scale of the defeat that they are suffering right now in local elections, and they are very, very worried that that could be replicated in a national election, and that would mean the end of their seats. And so a lot of them are thinking maybe we need to change our leader now ahead of time to try to avoid a wipeout in those national elections, which are still a couple of years away. It's worth remembering, Joe, the U.S. president is elected for a fixed term, but the British Prime Minister is just the leader of the party with the most support in Parliament. And if he loses the support of his own party, then he's out. You'll remember that happened to Boris Johnson back in 2022. Starmer's argument is that the UK, like the rest of the world, is dealing with the energy crisis as a result of the war with Iran right now, that the war in Ukraine is still very much live and kicking, and so now is not the right time to change the leader. We will see whether his party accepts that argument.
No surprise, the newspaper headlines there not holding back, as we just saw. So for viewers who haven't been following this story or maybe need a reminder, we know Starmer was elected less than 2 years ago, had a big majority. So how exactly has he managed to become so unpopular?
So, Joe, one of the fundamentals, economic growth in this country has just been very, very slow for a very long time right now. Starmer came into office promising change, promising to kickstart the economy, and people just aren't feeling it right now. In fact, prices are going up here for gas, for everything else as a result of the war in Iran, like they are in the United States. The other thing Starmer has been plagued by is a whole series of scandals. You might remember he appointed a friend of Jeffrey Epstein's to be the British ambassador in Washington. And when the full extent of that friendship came to light in the Epstein files released by the Justice Department, the ambassador was forced to resign. It raised a lot of questions about Starmer's judgment. And just finally, Joe, he did win this big landslide back in 2024. He won a majority of seats in the British Parliament, but he did it on only a third of the national vote. So he really has never been that popular, and he's been sliding since he got into office.
I mentioned Nigel Farage, his hard right Reform Party did have a good night, but is it realistic that he could become Britain's next prime minister?
So the polls suggest that he could, Joe. Farage is this kind of colorful character, very controversial, friend of Donald Trump's, smokes cigarettes, drinks beer, is kind of seen as more authentic than Starmer, who is very controlled, very scripted, very careful in what he says. Take a listen to what Farage said as he did a sort of victory lap on the British media rounds earlier today.
Personally, I'd be very sad to see the Prime Minister go. I would be very, very sad indeed. He's the greatest asset we've got.
So you can see him there, a little joke at the expense of the beleaguered Prime Minister. The British electoral system is a little bit complicated. It does mean, as I mentioned, that you can win a lot of seats on a relatively small percentage of the vote. And, Joe, what we are seeing in this country right now is the breakdown of 200 years of two-party politics, and now you have 3, 4, 5 parties all contesting for power.
All right, Raph walking us through the UK version of Schoolhouse Rock. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. In Cuba, more and more moms are using social media to document the realities of daily life there, from hours-long blackouts to fuel and food shortages. Their posts are giving the world a rare view inside the tightly controlled communist government. NBC News correspondent George Solis takes a closer look.
Así vivimos el colapso energético en Cuba.
No charge or power. Cuban mom Ana Ivizate recording and posting the harsh realities of what 36 hours inside a Cuban blackout looks like. Her little one sweating from the oppressive heat. In this post saying her daughters need to learn how to eat whatever food is available to them. In another, she shows 2 girls in her community who she says lack basic supplies, asking her followers to donate if they have anything to spare. Some of her posts include influencer-style content like Day in the Life, Get Ready With Me, and Get Ready With Me videos. Her posts, part of a growing movement of moms using social media to document daily life inside communist Cuba. A combination of communist government mismanagement and long-standing sanctions against the Cuban regime, now coupled with a U.S. fuel embargo, have the country facing its worst economic crisis in decades. The videos posted by Ivizate and other moms notably avoid direct criticism of the Cuban government, Cuba has a long history of imprisoning dissidents. Right now, more than 1,200 political prisoners are locked up, according to some human rights organizations, a claim the Cuban government denies.
La realidad de cada cual es única.
Everyone's reality is unique, she says, so I decided to show mine. We asked her if she's concerned about how audiences, including the government, might interpret her videos. I know they touch on social issues, she says, but it's my reality, and I'm not trying to hide it.
Hola.
Another woman, a mom and doctor who spoke to the Washington Post, which first reported on this trend, has more than 70,000 followers on Instagram, posting about getting ready for work after 30 hours in the dark. In this clip, laying out Cuban pesos on the table, saying it's her salary, about $20 US a month, showing some of what she's able to purchase with her income. Another mom uploading how she cooks over coal stones as rampant power outages continued throughout the island, sharing how she charges her portable batteries when there is power. NBC News has reached out to these users and more, but have not heard back. Another user we're not showing declined to be interviewed over concerns of retaliation from the government. I want them to know what an ordinary Cuban mother goes through, Ivisate says, adding, I think there's an awakening to the reality many Cubans are living. George Solis, NBC News.
Coming up, a community controversy involving a reality TV personality. We're going to take you to Utah, where Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary is taking heat over a massive new data center. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. Plans for a massive new AI center in Utah are moving forward despite some major pushback in the community. The controversial project is backed by Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster breaks down the project and why some residents are concerned.
Concern and outrage in Utah,
For hell's sakes, grow up.
where hundreds of protesters this week flooded this meeting of Box Elder County Commissioners.
Can you be quiet and let our citizens hear what needs to be said, please?
As they voted to move forward with a controversial data center proposal backed by celebrity Canadian businessman Kevin O'Leary.
Hello, Sharks.
Known as Mr. Wonderful on the hit show Shark Tank.
You should do this deal. You have no risk. Just say yes.
O'Leary firing back at the protests and criticism in this video posted on social media after the vote.
I'm pretty aware of what these concerns are. They are around air, water use, heat. Sustainability is at the heart of what we do in terms of all these proposals. We're not just Utah.
The Stratus Project is a plan to build a 40,000-acre development near Utah's Great Salt Lake, boosted by government tax incentives, and according to a county fact sheet, is eventually expected to generate and consume up to 9 gigawatts of power once completed, a number MIDA, the state entity backing the project, says is more than double Utah's average energy consumption.
Data centers of the old have a bad reputation. They gobble up a lot of water. They use up your power, and then when they're all built, they don't employ many people. This is not that. Power's usage is completely self-contained.
The project's potential environmental impact sparking much of the outrage.
And we're losing land, we're losing water, and we're losing air quality.
This has the footprint in the valley of 2,000 Walmart supercenters. That's the physical footprint. If you want the energy footprint, it's 40,000 Walmart supercenters in this one small valley.
As plans for other large data centers proposed across the country have led to heated debate.
Remove this person that's heckling.
O'Leary now casting doubt on the pushback in Utah.
We think over 90% of the protesters are actually not people that live in Utah or Box Elder County. They're being bussed in.
He didn't provide any evidence to support those claims. Davis, who lives 10 miles from the proposed project, was there.
Nobody was bussed in and nobody was paid. If they were, I missed out.
A firestorm gripping this Utah community with a celebrity businessman at the center. Shaquille Brewster, NBC News.
Coming up, iPhone users taking a bite out of Apple after the tech giant settles a class action lawsuit for hundreds of millions of dollars. What you need to know to cash in next on Morning News Now. We are back with some potentially good news for iPhone users that could put up to $95 back in your pocket. Tech giant Apple agreed to settle a class action lawsuit for $250 million. Court documents say the company misled customers by promoting new AI features that hadn't rolled out yet. NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal breaks down the settlement and who's eligible for the cash. Allie, good morning.
Yeah, hey there. Apple finally paying us for a change instead of us paying them, but it's only if you have certain iPhones. So here are the details here. If you purchased an iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max model or any 16 model in the U.S. between June 10th of 2024 and March 29th of 2025, you are eligible to receive this money. So the settlement covers about 37 million devices, and if it gets final approval, eligible customers could receive around $25 per device, and that can go up to as much as $95, although it oscillates depending on how many people actually submit claims. So it could be a little more or a little less, but think the broad range here is roughly 25 to as much as 95. Now, when it comes to Apple's response, they're saying that this case only involves a very small portion of its overall AI push. In a statement, the company said it has already rolled out dozens of Apple Intelligence features, including things like live translation, writing tools, Genmoji, and visual intelligence. And when it comes to this particular settlement, Apple says it really only involves 2 additional features that were not yet available to users. So being a little bit vague there. However, if you comb through the lawsuit, this seems to be around delayed enhanced Siri capabilities that Apple previewed during its Apple Intelligence event back in 2024. So think this digital personalized assistant here. That's what the promise was, that could go between apps and sort of read your mind and help you with your daily tasks. That was a promise that ultimately wasn't fulfilled for a lot of these users here. And I will say, if you take a step back more broadly, Apple has really struggled in the AI race, especially compared to a lot of those competitors out there like Amazon, Microsoft, Google. John Turnus, he's a longtime executive at the company. He's going to be the Apple's next CEO come September. So that's something that he's going to have to deal with. In the interim, there seems to be a lot of optimism around the company right now. But because Apple is such a cutting edge company, the bar is certainly higher when it comes to AI. So we'll continue to have to track this. But in the meantime, make sure you submit those forms and get your money.
All right, Allie Canal, thank you so much. Some other big tech news. Amazon Pharmacy is stocking up on a blockbuster weight loss drug. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch is here with your Money Minute. Emily, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Amazon says it's about to get a whole lot easier for some people to get the popular GLP-1 medication Ozempic in pill form. That's for those with diabetes. It's also used for weight loss. Amazon says it's rolling out the pill at kiosks at some One Medical locations. And in about 3,000 cities around the country, patients will be able to get delivery on the same day that the order is placed. And with the cost of memory chips on the rise amid the AI boom, it might be of no surprise that Nintendo's raising the price of its Switch 2 gaming console. The device will sell for about $500. That's up from its initial price point of about $450. Nintendo saying this is because of, quote, changes in market conditions, which are expected to extend over to the medium to long term. Finally, for those with swipe fatigue on those dating apps, one of the most popular platforms has something new in store. Founder and CEO Whitney Wolfe Herd said during an interview with Axios that the future of the app doesn't include the swipe feature, but instead something that she says is, quote, revolutionary for the category. She didn't provide too many details here, but did say the update will hit daters in the fourth quarter in certain cities. This comes as the company, according to data from the market intelligence firm Sensor Tower, has seen declining global downloads in recent years. Now, Joe, as I'm sure you know as well, a lot of the dating apps have different methods. Some actually don't have that swipe feature.
Got it.
So revolutionary here. My interest is certainly piqued. I mean, what could be revolutionary here?
What scares me is if you change something like this and someone then does it wrong. they swipe the wrong way and
I
then
bet that happens
suddenly
all
you're on
the
a bad
time.
date, you know? So, all right, Emily, thanks so much. Appreciate it. On the job front, some college students are concerned that as artificial intelligence grows, their job opportunities will shrink. It is especially concerning for computer science majors. But some universities are trying to help. Georgia Tech in Atlanta partnered with Anthropic, teaching students how to leverage AI to their advantage. NBC News correspondent Kathy Park visited the university to check out the program.
It's Saturday at Georgia Tech, and students are filing into one of the hottest clubs on campus. No dance floor, no DJ. This club runs on laptops and AI.
We're going to a hackathon. Think of it as a race where students have a set amount of time to solve a problem using technology, in this case, AI.
This is a Claude Builders Club sponsored by Anthropic. I'm giving the assignment.
This is the first time you guys are seeing this prompt.
The students have just 3 hours to create a health app for people on the go using AI.
Design a tool that removes the guesswork from staying healthy in real life. Let's start the clock.
With the clock ticking,
so it's essentially both a mobile app and a web app.
They broke into teams, doing what countless companies will someday count on them to do.
So from what I was thinking, we could have a dashboard.
Develop products using artificial intelligence.
All right, wait, look at this, look at this, look at this.
So can students actually increase productivity with the help of AI instead of being replaced by it? We asked the Associate Dean of Georgia Tech's College of Computing.
Why is it still essential for them to be a part of the process?
If this is going to be a tool that a human is going to use, you'd want the testing to be done by humans. Humans are going to be in the loop quite a bit when it comes to AI in terms of refining whatever it is that it produces.
Back in the room, we're seeing this in real time.
It's a lot of just using AI now, and so we think our role is more about thinking of like creative, useful ideas.
All right, so the teams have been going for about 2 hours now. There are minutes left on the clock, so let's check in to see how they're doing.
We're struggling to make a working product because of the short time span.
As the clock winds down, there are signs that AI still needs humans.
Merging this is going to be hell. We have 44 minutes, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Time's up. Laptops down.
In just 3 hours, AI helped turn ideas into products.
Hello, judges.
Now it's time for the judges.
This is kind of like an all-encompassing meal tracker.
Just make sure you're pairing those carbs with enough protein in each meal.
6 doses chicken, 1/2 cup cooked white rice.
The winner.
So if I just show it right here.
An app that turns healthy eating streaks into a game.
Lock it in and you're one meal closer to rebuilding that streak.
Right.
Amazing.
Exactly.
A real-life lab where students are using AI to one day get hired, not replaced. Kathy Park, NBC News, Atlanta.
Very cool. All right, coming up, you could call it a curveball in life. A crosstown rivalry between two diehard baseball fans set aside for one important reason.
This is such a wonderful moment here with my donor. I'm here on the field, so the sign worked. I never thought I'd be standing here today.
When we come back, we're going to take you to Chicago, where fans of the Cubs and White Sox found something much bigger than baseball to celebrate. And a moment for our moms as we prepare to celebrate Mother's Day this Sunday. Morning News Now will be right back. We are back with a heartwarming moment at the iconic Wrigley Field. It proves that no matter how intense a sports rivalry gets, some things are even more important. NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Yamas has the story.
In Chicago, sports allegiances are like religion. You're either Sox or Cubs. But recently, two crosstown rivals found good reason to put their differences aside. Bridget Coles is a diehard Cubs fan who was diagnosed with kidney disease and lupus in 2017. She desperately needed a kidney transplant, taking this sign to the ballpark in 2019 as a last resort, writing, "This little cubby needs a kidney." Thomas Alessio, a longtime White Sox fan, saw the picture on social media and stepped up to the plate.
I think especially in the world today, you should put yourself out there to help someone who's next to you.
It turns out the two fans with divided loyalties were a perfect match. And 6 years ago, Thomas donated his kidney to Bridget. This week, the two got together to celebrate in a special way.
We'll see what this kidney can do, okay, on the mound.
Bridget throwing out the first pitch at a Cubs game with Thomas right by her side, celebrating on the diamond with their medical team looking on.
This is such a wonderful moment here with my donor. I'm here on the field, so the sign worked. I never thought I'd be standing here today.
A hometown hero and a home run moment.
I'm here because of him, so I'm thankful for him. I'll always be Cubs fan. A little organ of me will be Sox fan.
Tom Yamas, NBC News.
Love that. All right. Before we wrap up this hour, we want to take a moment to give a special shout out to all the moms and mother figures out there. So we're sending an extra special thanks to the moms, stepmoms, grandmothers, mothers-in-law, etc., from our Morning News Now team. Here you see them. Of course, our colleagues who are moms or moms to be themselves. You all make our days a little brighter. We are so grateful for your love and your support. So to all our NBC moms and all the moms watching at home, have a very happy Mother's Day. It's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but stick with us. The news continues right now. Good Friday morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is on assignment. Right now on Morning News Now, testing the truce. The U.S. and Iran trading fire just hours after Iran said it was reviewing a proposal to end the fighting and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. military striking 2 locations after Iran says it fired on American ships there. The attacks straining the ceasefire, raising questions about negotiations. President Trump says the peace talks are still on.
The talks are going very well, but they have to understand if it doesn't get signed, they're going to have a lot of pain. They're going to have a lot of pain. They want to sign it, I will tell you.
Well, the latest from the region and where things could go from here. Cruise concerns, the deadly Hantavirus outbreak on that cruise ship, raising concerns about health and safety. Now, with the summer travel season rapidly approaching, millions of Americans are gearing up, ready to set sail on cruises of their own. So we'll tell you what you need to know for safer and smoother sailing. Plus, monitoring the market, the April jobs report dropping today. Experts optimistic we could see some gains, even as the war with Iran continues to shock the markets. We're breaking down the numbers. And later this hour, it's Friday. Finally, time for our weekly Can't Miss list. All the shows and entertainment you simply can't miss this weekend. From a new adaptation of a classic novel to a movie with some unconventional detectives sheepishly investigating a murder. Let's begin this hour with that fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. It is being tested again after another flare-up near the Strait of Hormuz. Both countries carried out a series of attacks in the area yesterday, trading accusations the other side fired first. U.S. CENTCOM says it retaliated after Iran fired missiles and drones at 3 American destroyers. But the Iranian military says it hit back after the U.S. targeted an Iranian oil tanker and several coastal areas in Iran. Despite these attacks, President Trump claims the ceasefire is still holding and peace talks are progressing. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest. Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe. So, yeah, that really troubling flash of fighting last night, it really left the entire region wondering if everybody is going straight back to war. But the fact is, as we've heard, it looks as though this ceasefire somehow is still holding, but only just. Overnight, despite a flare-up in the Middle East, President Trump saying the fragile ceasefire with Iran is still in effect.
Is the ceasefire with Iran still on?
Yeah, it is. They trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle.
The attacks escalating the standoff in the Strait of Hormuz.
They were firing at us, and we were firing back at them. And our firepower was a hell of a lot stronger than theirs, and they knocked the hell out of them.
U.S. Central Command said Iran fired missiles and launched drones and small boats at 3 American destroyers, enforcing a naval blockade in the region. CENTCOM calling the attacks, quote, unprovoked, and said U.S. forces responded with self-defense strikes targeting military facilities and drone launch sites in Iran. While Iran said it was the U.S. who fired first and that its attacks were defensive. Now, as negotiations continue, the president pressuring Iran.
You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement fast.
Tehran says it's considering an American proposal to extend the ceasefire and open the critical Strait of Hormuz. The president adamant.
It cannot have a nuclear bomb, and it's not going to have.
So, Joe, you just heard all of those threats by the president. Well, the Iranians have just responded, saying that this was an aggressive act by the U.S. last night, that it violated the ceasefire, and saying that they will not be intimidated by the president's threats. Joe?
All right, Matt, thank you so much. Let's bring in Aaron David Miller for more on where things stand. He's a former advisor to multiple secretaries of state and a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Aaron, good to have you with us again. So a U.S. official told NBC News the strikes were defensive, that it's not a resumption of major combat operations. So at what point do these repeated escalations actually constitute an end to the ceasefire?
I think that would happen, Joe, if in fact the Americans decided to escalate and return to something like we witnessed between February 28th and April 8th, when the ceasefire came into effect, and the Iranians decided to respond in kind, probably against critical oil infrastructure in the Gulf. Look, as long as the impasse over the Straits continue, as long as you don't shift this from the battlefield to the negotiating table, the odds of a confrontation like the one we witnessed over the last 48 hours leading to a more serious escalation, the odds of that go up.
So we know today Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with Italy's prime minister, and then President Trump, he's heading to Beijing next week, where he's going to meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. China said some of its nationals were on board an oil tanker that was attacked by Iran earlier this week near the Strait. So any of this international pressure, do you see it impacting just how the U.S. goes about trying to find an end to this war?
Not yet. It's very similar in a sense to the Israeli-Hamas war of October 7th. Ceasefire, right, 2 years later, October 23rd, October 9th, 2025. Israel and Hamas almost immune until the very end, when the president himself leveraged this 20-point plan, which brought to a sort of an end that conflict. But they demonstrated a frightening, terrifying capacity to resist external pressures, and that's exactly what's happening here. I don't think Iran's calculation, frankly, that it has the option of escalating, that time is on its side, has changed. And the president, while in a box, seems to me determined to continue the blockade and threaten, if the Iranians don't capitulate, essentially to American demands, escalate the war. The problem is that the Iranians aren't going to capitulate, and the blockade could stand for another 3 or 4 months. He, the president, could break the Iranian economy. I still don't believe the Iranians are prepared to give up their core demands.
I want to ask you about something we just heard in Matt's report. It was a quote from President Trump. He said, "You won't have to know if there's no ceasefire." He went on to say, "You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran." What do you make of his rhetoric, and where do you think negotiations do go from here?
Not helpful. I think it's a function of his own personal frustration. He wants to get out of this. He can't. He's suffering politically as a consequence. Look, I worked for administrations Jimmy Carter to Bush 43, and you could throw in Obama and Biden. No American president uses that sort of language. And frankly, it may satisfy the president's base and his own need and his own frustrations. But frankly, it sends, in my judgment, the absolutely wrong signal to the Iranians. I don't think they're going to be intimidated and blustered into making core discussions. The best option right now is to work quietly to see whether or not, we don't know, you could get 30 days to test the proposition, Joe, that in effect a deal is necessary, and you're going to need a written text to do that. I think it was the great Hollywood mogul Samuel Goldwyn who quipped that an oral agreement isn't worth the paper it's written on. You're going to need a text, and you're going to need weeks, Joe, of negotiation to determine whether or not the demands that the Iranians have made and the counter demands on the American side are bridgeable.
Aaron David Miller, always good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Now to the latest on the deadly Hantavirus outbreak that has killed 3 people and infected at least 5 more. The cruise ship where the outbreak was first reported is now making its way to the Canary Islands off the coast of Spain. Officials there are preparing to evacuate the remaining passengers when the ship arrives. NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian is there with the latest. Danielle, good morning.
Well, good morning from a windy Tenerife. And despite protests across the Canary Islands and opposition by local politicians, this ship is on its way and is expected to arrive here at noon on Sunday. This morning, the ship at the center of the deadly Hantavirus outbreak headed to the Canary Islands, where preparations are underway. Overnight, President Trump asked about the virus.
It's very much, we hope, under control. We have a lot of people, a lot of great people are studying it.
Should there be concern that it's going to spread? And how are you
I hope not. I hope not. We'll do the best we can.
And experts trying to reassure the public.
This is not coronavirus. This is not the start of a COVID pandemic.
But passengers who disembarked from the ship early on the small island of St. Helena have spread across the globe. The UK announcing another suspected case this morning on the remote island of Tristan da Cunha. Singapore confirming it's monitoring 2 passengers, but some positive news. The Dutch flight attendant hospitalized with symptoms yesterday, now testing negative for the virus, according to health officials. Still, some of the cruise passengers are back in the U.S. in at least 5 states. State health departments telling NBC News they're not showing any symptoms. Among the 17 Americans still on board the MV Hondias, Dr. Stephen Kornfeld, who spoke with NBC affiliate KTVZ in Oregon.
As things deteriorated and more people got sick and more people got seriously ill, I ended up just taking over and trying to keep everybody going.
The luxury cruise ship is expected to anchor off the coast of Tenerife on Sunday. This couple from New York just landed there for an island getaway.
I hope we've learned something from COVID, that there are ways to handle these kinds of situations. We can't just ignore them and let them float around for, till we figure something out.
Now, Spanish authorities want to make sure there is no direct contact with the public, and so the ship will not dock here, but anchor nearby, and 5 passengers at a time will be evacuated. They'll be brought here to the port in a cordoned-off area, taken directly to the airport, which is about a 10-15-minute drive to another cordoned-off area where they will board repatriation flights back home.
All right, Danielle, thank you. With this outbreak hitting just as the summer cruise season is about to kick off, some people are now thinking about how to stay healthy while on the high seas. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch is in Port Miami, Florida, with more on what you need to know if you're planning to take a cruise in the near future. Jesse, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Cruising has become increasingly popular in recent years. In fact, AAA expects more than 20 million Americans to take a cruise this year alone. And if you are planning to set sail this summer, there are steps you can take to hopefully enjoy smooth sailing.
As the world watches this cruise ship hantavirus outbreak unfold, this morning people are taking notice an ocean away.
I booked my first ever cruise last night, and I woke up to this. The hantavirus.
Everyone keeps sending me hantavirus stuff.
Glenna Horowitz is currently at sea with a different cruise line. About 24 hours into her voyage, she started hearing about hantavirus from social media and family back home.
Did it seem like people started acting differently after word of the hantavirus started getting out?
No, I think it's still pretty hush-hush. But I was on the elevator yesterday and somebody coughed around me and I ran. I was gone.
While doctors say hantavirus infections are extremely rare and almost never transmitted human to human, other illnesses like norovirus and COVID can spread more easily on these floating cities, where people spend a lot of time in close quarters.
When people say that cruise ships are like petri dishes, is that a fair term?
It's a fair term because the majority of illnesses that we see on cruise ships are gastrointestinal illnesses or respiratory illnesses transmitted through viruses and bacteria.
Cruise ships also bring people together from all over, including communities with lower vaccination rates. And diseases can spread during port visits, too. Still, the industry has made progress. The CDC says from 2006 to 2019, GI illness rates among passengers were nearly cut in half. If you're getting ready for a summer trip at sea, your cruise line may detail specific medical policies. Royal Caribbean says it may require guests to quarantine or participate in contact tracing. And Carnival says our medical team is on standby 24/7 on board each and every vessel. Experts recommend frequent hand washing, especially before eating and after using the bathroom. With hygiene in mind, Glenna's trying to stay healthy on the high seas.
Anytime you enter the buffet, they literally yell at you if you're not washing your hands. So I think the crew has done a really lovely job.
There are also some tips from the CDC to keep in mind if you are planning a cruise vacation. The CDC says if you have a pre-existing medical condition or special needs, you should contact the cruise line's customer service team before you go on the trip so you can find out exactly what kind of medical services they can provide on the specific ship you'd be on. The CDC also advising everyone should consider travel health insurance so you're covered in case you need it. And Joe, doctors also pointing out that if you are around someone with symptoms, one of those masks, like the ones we've been really familiar with in recent years, can help protect you if someone around you is experiencing those symptoms. And if you're not feeling well, it never hurts to go get it checked out. Joe.
Yeah, no, the good thing we have those masks still in supply all over. All right, Jesse, thank you so much. We're tracking some severe storms in the south, heavy rains along the Gulf Coast as well. Let's get a closer look at what to expect with your morning News Now weather and Bill Cairns. Bill, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. It's chilly in some areas, too. A lot of people are still wearing the heavier coats, and they'd like to get rid of them. We have about 9 million people under frost advisories and freeze warnings, and hopefully you didn't do early planting in areas of northern Michigan, because that's where temperatures are below freezing in a few cases. Chilly in the Appalachians, too. So we're waking up, and if there's any breeze, it feels even worse. Elkins is at 38 degrees. Rockford, Illinois is at 37. We're in the 40s in many areas. The valleys, of course, are a little bit chillier. So for today, the biggest story is going to be late this afternoon to this evening. We're going to get some severe weather. It's not going to be a huge widespread outbreak, but especially in Oklahoma, that's where we could get some very large hail that could do some damage. And then it'll just kind of be a soaking rain for your Friday evening into St. Louis, maybe a little thunder mixed into some light rain. Then this whole mess, unfortunately, slides into the northeast for your Saturday. If you haven't got your spring cleaning done, this is a good Saturday to do it. A lot of indoor work, D.C., Philly to New York, all the way through Hartford, the I-95 corridor. You're going to wake up. It may not be raining yet, and then it's going to start, and it's not going to stop till probably 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's most of the day kind of rain. As far as severe weather goes, I mentioned that area of concern today. Oklahoma City to Wichita Falls, heading along the Red River up to McAllister. Tulsa's in this, too, and a little sliver there of areas of Kansas. Again, not so much a tornado threat, more large damaging hail. So here's your weekend forecast. The western half of the country, you are dry and you are warm. It's going to feel like summer in many cases. We do have some heavy rain on your Saturday down along the Gulf Coast, especially New Orleans is going to have a wet Saturday, maybe even portions of Sunday, too. And then as we head towards Mother's Day, we'll be watching some of that heavy rain in areas of Oklahoma. You know, we have a crack staff here, Joe, in our weather area. So we said we need a Mother's Day map with a little flair. We need some cities that is going to get mom's attention to show our appreciation. So we got some of our kindred, North Dakota. I've never heard of that one. Wisdom, Montana, of course, makes a lot of sense.
DeQueen, Arkansas. That's the best one on that map.
That was a golf clap for finding that one. So that was pretty good, too. Daisy, Georgia. So I hope everyone has a great Mother's Day.
And, of course, Wisdom, Montana, because mothers
Mom will
have
spread that wisdom and, pass down from Grandma.
Appreciate that. Bill Cairns and to the team, thanks so much. All right, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is wrapping up that 2-day visit to Rome. Today, he held talks with top Italian officials following yesterday's high-stakes meeting at the Vatican. Comes after months of very public friction between the White House and the Holy See. NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons joins us with more on this. Keir, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning to you. The Secretary of State is still in Rome this morning. He's been meeting with the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. But, of course, it is that meeting with Pope Leo that has been making all the headlines still. The Vatican describing it as an exchange of views. Secretary Rubio, just in the past hour, saying it was very positive.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio stepping into the Apostolic Palace for a one-on-one with Pope Leo.
Good to see you.
The private meeting, including discussions on Iran and growing tensions between the US and Cuba. Rubio saying he underscored their shared commitment to promoting peace and human dignity. The two also exchanging gifts. A miniature crystal football stamped with the State Department seal for the Holy Father and a symbolic olive wood pen for the Secretary, who is a practicing Catholic.
Olive being, of course, plant of peace.
Rubio's visit comes after months of public sparring between the White House and the Holy See. The Pope has been openly critical of the administration's immigration policies and the war in Iran, that criticism drawing repeated attacks from the president.
I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo.
He thinks it's just fine for Iran to have
a nuclear weapon. I think he's endangering a lot of Catholics and a lot of people.
Pope Leo vowing to keep up his appeals for peace.
And I will continue to speak out loudly against war, looking to promote peace.
At a press conference Tuesday, Rubio denying the meeting was a mea culpa.
It's a trip we had planned from before, and obviously we had some stuff that happened.
There is a new pope.
All of this as the Pope today marks exactly 1 year since his historic election. The first American pontiff in the Catholic Church's 2,000-year history, sparking surprise and celebration in the United States. Since then, Pope Leo has traveled the globe. The Chicago native also remembering his roots, grabbing his favorite hometown pizza in St. Peter's Square, and using the scoreboard of his beloved Chicago White Sox to deliver his trademark call for unity.
It's a pleasure for me to greet all of you gathered together at White Sox Park. We have to look for ways of coming together and promoting a message of hope.
And that gift from Pope Leo, a pen made of olive wood, notable because, of course, the olive branch is a symbol of peace, Joe. Pope Leo remaining on his message, that message of peace, despite the criticism from President Trump.
Yeah, an olive branch that writes. Pretty cool. Keir, thank you so much. All right, much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, dangerous network. Authorities warning parents about a group targeting kids online. We have what you need to know. And that's not the only threat hitting the web. A cyber attack on an online learning platform is creating chaos at schools across the country just days before finals. We've got that story up next. Back now with a major cyber attack causing chaos for millions of students across the country, and it probably couldn't come at a worse time. Just days before finals week, hackers have taken down the online learning platform Canvas. It's used by thousands of universities and school districts nationwide. NBC News chief business correspondent Christine Romans joins me now with more on this. Christine, good morning. So first of all, just walk us through what exactly happened here. We understand there's a ransom note involved.
Yeah, imagine logging on because you want to study for a Calc 2 final that's coming up next week. It's finals week. It's a dead week this week, finals week this weekend, next week for a lot of schools. And you get a ransom note on your computer. All you wanted to get into were your class notes, maybe some lecture videos so that you could study up. And this comes up, and it's a demand for money, or your private information is going to be released and you can't access any of the material you need right now. So what happened here was the company that runs Canvas pulled down the Canvas site for several hours so that it could try to combat this. It is back up and running here this morning, but there are thousands of schools and millions of students who suddenly didn't have access to their materials yesterday.
As if finals weren't stressful enough.
I know, right?
And then you add this to that. So what do we know about the group that's claiming to be behind this hack, and just how widespread was the impact?
It's a ransomware group, we think, that started maybe back in 2019. At least that's what it claims. It claims to have stolen data from 275 million people from 9,000 schools. And this has been sort of a long-running hack from this. This is an ongoing, I should say, hack from this group. Canvas, again, said it pulled down its platform here so that it could try to combat this and get it back up and running. And Canvas is this online learning platform. Joe, it's not like when we were kids and it was somebody photocopied the notes, stapled them together, and passed them around. It's all digital. It just reminds you the dependence on technology here for the college, and also there are elementary schools and other school districts that also use this as well. It's not just colleges.
I would have just had notebooks of handwritten notes. That'd be very popular right now.
I know. Yes, you would.
during that.
I want Joe's notes.
You might not be able to read the notes, but they would be there.
Did you take Calc 2?
No, I did not take Calc 2. Trust me. We called it Rocks for Jocks.
Yes,
it was a geology course. That was basically.
Nobody wants our Calc 2 notes.
No one wants me to do math for them. All right. So obviously more than 8,000 schools, universities, that's a lot. How are they responding?
Well, there are a lot of different approaches here. Some universities are saying they're going to postpone the finals by a day or two. Others are saying that you need to go to your teacher and find out other ways to turn in your assignments. Again, some of these are assignments that people have to turn in, and this is how you turn them in. A lot of this is also just how you're going to see the information. But Virginia Tech, Penn State, Iowa State, all of them have sort of different approaches to how to combat what happened here. But mostly go to your, talk to your university and see what they're doing. And things are back up and running. So hopefully this was just a little bit of a blip, just a few hours of study time you didn't get, because we know all those college students are studying.
They're just studying
morning to
nonstop. They're not waiting till the last minute.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, Christine, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Cities across the country are ramping up their preps for the FIFA World Cup matches coming to the U.S. this summer. But a new report suggests hotels may not be seeing the boom that many predicted or hoped for. The American Hotel and Lodging Association surveyed hotels across 11 host cities. 80% of those surveyed said that the bookings are tracking below initial expectations. They said visa barriers and geopolitical concerns were two major factors deterring some international travelers. NBC News breaking business news reporter Rob Weil joins me now with more on this. Rob, good morning. So the unstable situation in the Middle East, no doubt, is one factor here when it comes to international travel. But what else seems to be impacting these lower hotel bookings?
Yeah, Joe, so this was sort of a bombshell report because, in the run-up to this event, everyone's trying to put on a good face for it. But basically, the AHLA, which is the largest hotel association in America, is saying, hey, our guys are not seeing the demand that we were hoping to see or were promised. So in the run-up, the games are now just a month away. I think it's just been, as the report says, the travel issues, the visa issues. Now we're facing higher airfares as a result of the Iran war. So I think this report just kind of landed just in the middle of the prepping for what was supposed to be a big, exciting event. And these hotel operators are saying, we planned our budgets for years around seeing this big boom, and it's going to fall short. And we're sort of scrambling to figure out, what to try to do about it. It's also a big issue because international guests tend to spend about $3,000 more than a domestic traveler coming in from, if you're traveling from somewhere in the Midwest, from Dallas up to see a game in Kansas City, even if domestic folks end up picking up some of the slack there, the numbers are still going to fall short for some of these hotel operators.
Yeah. What else did the report reveal about some of these hotel bookings?
So basically just another big factor was that FIFA had set aside these block reservations, and they basically sort of abandoned them and sort of left these hotel chains to fend for themselves as far as picking up the slack again, because just the international demand was just not there. Again, the visa issues and just sort of the perception of coming to the U.S. I think is deterring some would-be travelers for these games. Now we know that some officials are saying that we're still a month out, but it's going to start to really ramp up, as the weeks come, and they're trying to put a good face on it. But it does sound like a lot of these hotels and sort of the local economies that had invested a lot into sort of side events and watch parties and stuff are going to be facing some shortfalls as a result of just kind of slower demand that they're seeing.
I know we've done some stories earlier this year on people who got ahead of things, bought their airline tickets, maybe did book their hotels, and then realized they couldn't afford the tickets. I mean, that's been a huge issue, just how extremely high the prices are here. Why are the tickets so expensive? Are host cities doing anything to try and help out with those costs?
The host cities, they can't really do anything about the ticket costs. FIFA has sort of been ironclad that they're not going to lower their costs. They have instituted this dynamic pricing system, which sort of people have discovered only sort of moves in one direction, which is up. When demand is slower, the prices haven't really gone down. We are starting to see in the resale market, though, that prices are starting to come down. So if you were trying to wait for last-minute tickets to get a cheaper entry price, you are sort of being rewarded for that. But we're seeing in places like New Jersey, they're trying to spend a little extra money. They had just announced this $5 million initiative to try to gin up interest, to try to generate more excitement. But they're also, Governor Sherrill just proposed a new tax that would be imposed on folks living in and around the stadium, in addition to the folks traveling there, to try to generate some local revenue from the events game. So there's sort of really colliding forces here of trying to chin up the demand, but also capture some kind of economic benefit from it too.
All right, Rob Weil, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. We're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with a legal fight over the effort to eliminate Tennessee's only majority black congressional district. NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen joins us with that and some other Washington headlines. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe. We talked yesterday about Tennessee's new congressional redistricting plan. Since then, Governor Bill Lee signed it into law, and the NAACP filed suit to block it from taking effect. The new map would splinter the state's 9th district. That's the state's only black majority and only Democratic district. Democratic state legislators protested during votes in the Capitol yesterday, as did demonstrators outside the chambers. Republicans quickly adjourned the special session amid the chaotic scene. But the bid to block the map is a steep uphill battle. The Supreme Court gave a green light for states to split up majority-minority districts last week by limiting the use of race as a factor in redistricting. Republicans are hoping that that ruling and new maps in several states will help them keep control of the U.S. House in November's midterm elections. In Washington, President Trump hosted Brazilian leader Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva at the White House. The two men have had a bitter relationship in the past, with Trump slapping massive tariffs on Brazilian products and then pulling back on some of those levies. The Trump administration has also imposed sanctions against a Brazilian judge over the judge's handling of charges against Jair Bolsonaro, Lula's predecessor and a top Trump ally on the world stage. Trump and Lula did not make their expected joint appearance after their meeting, but Trump said later that the talks went, quote, very well. The president continues his taxpayer-funded glam up of the White House. The latest plan is a $7.5 million paint job for the historic Eisenhower Executive Office building. Completed in 1888, the EOB has a dark gray granite face. Trump would like to paint it white. Preservationists say the granite's not meant to be painted at all. No final decision has been made, but the agency is in charge is stacked with presidential appointees, so place your bets that way. And that's a look at what's making news in politics this morning. Joe?
All right, John, thank you. Law enforcement officials are warning parents about a potentially dangerous online network targeting children. Authorities say the group, known as 764, manipulates kids into committing violent acts, sometimes with deadly consequences. The FBI has issued dozens of alerts about the growing predator network. NBC News national law enforcement correspondent Tom Winters spoke with the NYPD's top counterterrorism official, warning some of what you're about to hear is disturbing.
The FBI is flooding the internet with warnings for parents.
We're going after the new form of what I refer to as modern-day terrorism in America.
Children are being misled, groomed, threatened, and extorted into hurting themselves and even committing acts of murder. It's led to school shootings coast to coast, from Tennessee to Wisconsin to Colorado.
Use caution, active shooters.
The threat. Online groups called 764, Maniac Murder Cult, and other names. They're mysterious to you, but not necessarily your kids. Law enforcement has its own name for this threat. Nihilistic Violent Extremism, or NVE.
It's grounded in the belief that nothing matters, and that the only way sometimes to feel anything at all is through violence. The ideology is nihilism, and the victims are kids.
NYPD's Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism, Rebecca Weiner, says the threat has some distinct characteristics.
This is influencer culture online at its most sadistic.
The groups are on mainstream online platforms, even self-help forums for kids with mental health issues. Minors are targeted on those platforms by adults, and then those victims are pushed to target other kids. Children are groomed to engage in acts of self-harm and to create child sex abuse content.
And if a child tries to pull away from the network, they get sextortion, they get threatened.
As kids spend more and more time online, with many finding very real and positive connections, part of the concern for parents is how hard it is to predict the victims. Who are the types of kids that are getting preyed on?
It's anyone. It's a 4.0 student who is doing great at every aspect of life. It's somebody who's struggling.
Weiner, whose group tracks the most serious terrorism threats worldwide 24/7, says they are focused on these groups, which they found almost by accident.
The Joint Terrorism Task Force in New York first started to learn about nihilistic violent extremism through the case of an individual in Queens. We didn't really know what it was. When we dig more, when we start to understand what he's all about, we see a much larger network.
Angel Almeida has been charged federally, and prosecutors told a judge that he made a blood oath to a satanic group and posted these photos to social media. He's pleaded not guilty, and a judge found him not competent to stand trial. Separately, 2 of 764's leaders have been accused of conspiring to try and get a young girl to write in her own blood on her own body. And if she didn't, an indictment says an alleged leader wrote, "You have this image and you have her school. You can blackmail her and tell her you will send this picture to her family and friends. She can avoid if she just obeys you." Both men are fighting their charges. Weiner, a mother herself, has advice for parents for children as young as 12.
Parents need to have those conversations in the way that you and I were taught not to talk to strangers and not to engage in conversations that could be problematic when we were young.
An age-old warning.
Talk to your children about not talking to strangers.
But now, the stranger is inside your house, influencing your kids right at their fingertips. Tom Winter, NBC News, New York.
Coming up, monitoring the markets, the April jobs report out this morning, giving us a better picture of the economy as the war with Iran continues to put pressure on the markets. We're breaking down the better-than-expected numbers next. We're back with some breaking economic data. The U.S. economy added 115,000 jobs in April, more than expected. The unemployment rate held steady at 4.3%. Here to break down the numbers, NBC News business and economy reporter Ali Canal, and she's joined by Investopedia's editor-in-chief and chief business editor of People Inc., Caleb Silver. Good morning to both of you. Ali, you're at the big board there. Walk us through the numbers and just how they compare with the past few months.
Yeah, really solid gains here. And just to remind viewers, this is a back-to-back when we think about the expectation versus the reality here. So as you said, 115,000 jobs. The estimate was for 55,000, so more than double the estimate. And March, that was that other blowout jobs report, that was actually revised higher by another 7,000 to 185,000. So we're almost at the top here. Now, February, that was a pretty brutal month. We had quite a bit of strikes. We had some bad weather to contend with. The original estimate was 133,000. That was revised lower by 23,000 to a loss of just around 156,000 jobs. But we are still chugging along here when we think about the U.S. labor market. The unemployment rate continuing to hold steady at 4.3%. This little gap here was when we had that government shutdown. But by historical standards, this is pretty good. This is pretty solid. But it's interesting because you have this juxtaposition when you talk to folks out there that are struggling to find a job. Still a low hire, low fire labor market, Joe.
All right, Caleb, your thoughts.
Yeah, the long-term unemployed, this is a metric I like to look at because this is people who are trying to get back in the labor force and can't. That held steady at 1.8 million. People that are even trying to get any job, period, that's around 6 million. Those are holding steady, and this is what this jobs report tells you. You saw Ali's board there, a lot of red, a lot of blue, a lot of red, a lot of blue. This is the right sizing of the labor force in America. What you want to watch is the unemployment rate of 4.3%. That's almost full employment. Sector by sector, Ali will take you through it. The strength is where the strength has been, but also some new strength in transportation and warehousing. That's actually a good sign, despite the fact that we had higher energy prices.
That sets up Ali perfectly. Let's break it down in different categories where we can see the strengths and the weaknesses there.
Yeah, as Caleb said, the strength is where the strength has been, and that continues to be in healthcare. It's National Nurses Week, so solid gains here in healthcare sector. 37,000 jobs added. Leisure and hospitality, that's your bars, restaurants, heading into the very busy summer season. That was up by 15,000 jobs. And manufacturing, we'd like to continue to track manufacturing. The past couple of months, we've seen some gains here, but we actually saw a loss of 2,000 jobs. So just one of those sectors that we continue to watch and track.
Federal Reserve meets when?
Yeah, 40 days, 5 hours and 50 minutes. I'm not counting, you're counting, but don't expect any change, even though by then we'll likely have a new Fed chair in place in the form of Kevin Warsh. But if the Fed and any economist is looking at this, they're saying, The labor market's fine. Let's be concerned about inflation due to these rising energy costs. That problem may be mitigated by then, too. So no change expected by the Fed when they meet next time.
All right, Allie, another thing we like to look at is just wage growth. What are we seeing there?
Well, the good thing is wages continue to outpace inflation. Wages coming in at 3.6%. Inflation is at 3.3%, but we've seen inflation steadily tick up month by month as we continue to wade through this Iran war, as that pushes energy prices higher. I do expect inflation to be even higher next week once we get those refreshed CPI numbers. But for the meantime, the fact that we have wages outpacing, that's good, but the gap is closing a little bit. So it's something we want to continue to watch, because if people start to feel like their dollar isn't going to go as far, that's when you're going to see some cracks out there in the economy.
So, Caleb, just big picture, what does this mean for us? What does it mean for our wallets? What does it say about where we are right now?
Yeah, we're in a steady state for the labor market here. Don't expect any interest rate changes, so those payments are not going to come down if you're financing something. And there are jobs, but the jobs are in those lower-paying sectors. We've seen some big layoffs in tech. That was kind of offset by all the hiring in the other places. Steady state right now, sort of a barbecue, low barbecue for the U.S. economy.
All right, sounds good. Caleb and Allie, thank you both. Appreciate it. Now, if you're looking to save a few extra bucks on meals and you like fast food, you're in luck. The drive-through duel is heating up an effort to drive in business with lower prices. Fast food chains across the country are rolling out new menu items and deals to attract families on a budget. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda takes a closer look at how restaurants are beefing up their offerings. Emily, good morning.
Hey there. Well, for chains like McDonald's and Taco Bell, the secret sauce to their success this year has been in their value menus. That's because families feeling the weight of those sky-high gas prices are prioritizing meals that won't bite into their budget. This morning, the burger brawl is heating up.
The most McDonald's burger yet.
As fast food chains supercharge their value menus to win over cautious customers facing pain at the pump.
I filled up my tank $85. That's ridiculous.
Despite uncertainty from the war, McDonald's this week reporting sales grew nearly 4% in the U.S. from a year earlier. Better than expected success, with the company's CEO saying McDonald's is not going to get beat on value, touting its growing list of items for under $3 and $4 breakfast meal deal.
McValue 2.0 is here.
How big of a deal is value right now?
Value is a very big deal right now. The low-income consumer is really pressured by inflation. About 3 in 10 visits are based on some form of deal.
The world's biggest burger chain made waves in March.
I love this product. It is so good.
After its CEO posted a video of himself taking a tiny bite of a limited-time behemoth burger.
That's a big bite for a big arch.
Customers and rivals eating up the opportunity to poke fun across social media.
Only one thing missing. A napkin.
While some chains have struggled this season, Burger King and Taco Bell are also relishing strong starts to the year, leaning into social media more than ever.
You can have a crispy chicken crunchwrap slider.
A lot of restaurants are paying close attention to what is going viral on social media, and they are trying to jump on board.
Experts say sales will continue to sprout up this season. KFC just started offering a $10 bucket of the day.
An epic menu of galactic proportions awaits.
And Burger King launched Star Wars offerings on May the 4th, hoping the Force lures in more calculated customers. And experts say watch for more menu innovation as another way to catch customers' eyes. This week, McDonald's is rolling out new refreshers and dirty soda-inspired drinks as it tries to take a sip of the booming beverage business. Back to you.
All right, Emily, thank you so much. Coming up, entertainment you just can't miss. Got our can't miss list full of all the shows, music, and movies you can enjoy this weekend, including a murder mystery with talking sheep. So grab your popcorn. We'll be right back. Finally this hour, time for your weekly can't miss list to look at all the movies and shows that you need to see this weekend. Joining us this week, NBC New York digital reporter, friend of the show, Kay Ingram. Kay, good to have you with us. So we're going to start with a family movie, The Sheep Detectives.
Yes.
Hugh Jackman, Emma Thompson. It's based off the popular book 3 Bags Full. Getting great reviews. We see right there 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. What should we know about it?
Yeah, no, that is huge. I mean, listen, Hugh Jackman, he plays this shepherd, and essentially you've got this group of sheep where they they've decided to go undercover, which is really funny. Who knew sheep could be great as undercover detectives? But these are essentially something goes awry on the farm, and they're trying to figure it out. It's also an all-star voiceover cast: Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Bryan Cranston, Patrick Stewart. And so this is definitely going to be silly, but it leans more into heartfelt. So if you're looking for something like that, that'll be great going into the weekend.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that, and I thought, oh, I think I need to check this one out there. All right, so not getting 95% on Rotten Tomatoes is Mortal Kombat 2, but, you know, it's got a loyal fan base.
It's for the fans.
Finish him, you know. What do we know about this one?
You know it. Yeah, I used to play this, excuse me, I used to play this a ton with my cousins growing up, so you know it well. This is part 2 in the franchise, the video game adaptation. It's really exciting. You've got Carl Urban joining as Johnny Cage. Of course, you've got the classics, Katana, you've got Cole 2.0, Scorpion, and so this is the bloody next chapter in that franchise. And it's all about the fans. The fans are excited. If you do them right, they will love it.
You know your Mortal Kombat characters, are you?
Finish him. I always chose Katana.
Did you? Okay, I can't remember. It's been so long. But I was in
played too. I love it.
All right, it seems like it is the season for concert films. So we got Billie Eilish teaming up with, of all people, James Cameron. It's not Titanic, but they are calling this an immersive 3D experience. What should we know?
Yeah, so not Titanic, not Avatar, and also Billie Eilish, James Cameron. What a combination. Apparently, Cameron's been a huge fan of Billie Eilish and her music, which is like cracking me up. I'm imagining him somewhere going, duh, right?
Yeah.
And so they put together this concert film. It's immersive, it's 3D. It's unlike any concert film that's been done before. They're using these tiny 3D cameras that essentially make audiences feel like they're on stage with Billie Eilish. Don't expect anyone to hand you a microphone, though.
Right.
But it's incredibly immersive, raw, real. It covers her sold-out world tour, but this one specifically, the show in Manchester. So you're getting a look behind the scenes like you've never seen before.
And it cost $1 billion to make it. No, it did not. But I'm sure no expense was spared.
Take me there.
James Cameron has a high budget for most of his projects. All right, if you are going to stay in, there are some good streaming options to pick from. We're going to start with The Other Bennett Sister. That's on BritBox. It's based on the well-known Jane Austen novel Pride and Prejudice, but it focuses on the often overlooked middle sister, Mary. So even though it's set more than 200 years ago, the cast says the story is just as relevant today.
This is a show which kind of says, you know, your looks are like the least interesting thing about you. It's about what's within, and that shines through. I suppose I love her social commentary. I love the way she talks about class and like disparity of wealth, and she's so funny.
What more can you tell us about this one?
Yes, I mean, she touched on it really well right there. Class, but you've got comedy. It really is a coming of age. You know, this woman, she kind of finds her own. It's Mary Bennett, the sister that's often overlooked, you know, not necessarily considered the most beautiful sister. So you're watching her navigate that. We've seen that this is a Pride and Prejudice spinoff, but this is all about Mary. It's her time to shine.
Yeah, we're giving her the spotlight here. All right.
Yes.
Speaking of books that are, or series that are based off of books, Netflix is out because we needed a remake of Lord of the Flies.
Can't get enough. Can't get enough. This is different.
Yeah, it is different. Okay, it is different, and it's from the same team that did Adolescence, which was, of course, a hit and won a ton of awards. What more should we know?
Well, you can kind of tell that, like, Adolescence vibe from the trailer, right?
Yeah, right.
And so, essentially, like you mentioned, Joe, there have been other adaptations, but the fans are excited about this one because they feel like the other ones didn't really hit the mark in terms of what the story is about. If you don't know, you've got these English schoolboys who end up getting lost. Lost Boys. They end up getting lost on a deserted island, and chaos ensues. Other adaptations leaned in heavy into the chaos. This one's more about the humanity of the characters.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because the chaos is definitely what I remember from Lord of the Flies when I was younger.
Not as violent. We don't need more of that.
Okay, all right, I'll appreciate that. All right, finally, we got a Peacock with a new show, MIA. It's about a woman who seeks revenge against a Miami-based drug cartel. If you like Ozark, maybe you'll like this one.
Yes. Some of the creators or co-creators from Ozark are behind this. I kind of think of Taken or Born Identity. So think of like Liam Neeson if you were a young, gorgeous, curly-haired woman from Florida who is ready to get her revenge. Her family, who's a part of a drug cartel, something tragic ends up happening, and so she is on a mission to get revenge. And so this takes place in Florida, MIA, hello, hint, hint. And so that one is streaming on Peacock. And yeah, it's definitely violent.
It's definitely violent.
So if you don't want violence, do the sheep movie, all right? Less violence there. Kay Ingram, always good to have you with us.
Thank you,
so
Fred.
much.
Thanks, guys.
That almost does it for this hour, but as Sunday is Mother's Day, we did want to give a special shout out to all the moms in our team's lives, as well as those who are just moms themselves. You can see some of them here, so thank you to the moms, the stepmoms, the grandmothers, the mothers-in-law, and the mother figures out there. We appreciate everything that you do for us. The news continues in a few moments.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.